How does Nvidia's new DLSS transformer model compare against its older CNN one? Any second now? Yeah, this isn't the model's fault, it's just a dank quirk with Alan Wake 2 sometimes when first loading in. Put it simply, the new transformer model, as seen on the right, is better than the older one. Not all the time, not in all areas of the image, there are a few ways in which it's worse, which I'll be pointing out in this video, but on the whole it improves things more than it ruins them, which I'll also point out in this video. In other words, it's a net positive, making better use of resources than the old one could. So it's a step in the right direction, and it should only get even better as time goes on. Right now, if you're on an RTX card, then you can choose which model to use, and provided they run the same speed, the transformer model seems to be the one to opt for. However, they do not always run the same speed, so let's start by looking at the performance impact. I tested a 60 tier of card from the 2000, 3000 and 4000 series of RTX cards to see how much DLSS 4 tanked performance in Alan Wake 2 and in Cyberpunk, and it was striking. The older RTX 2000 and 3000 series suffered a lot, while the newer 4000 series could handle the newer models with much less of a drop in performance. I expect this will also be the case with the RTX 5060 series of cards, if they ever exist and ever come out, that is. However, beyond the basic, newer generations of RTX card handled transformer models better, it became very hard to establish defined rules for how or when the cards would slow down when using them. The performance impact is greatest at highest qualities of DLSS. In some ways I found this counterintuitive. You might expect the AI impact to be greater at, say, ultra performance upscaling setting, where it's attempting to generate 9 pixels from every one. But no. DLAA, being native resolution, noticeably slowed down even the newest 60 tier of card, the 4060 Ti. Cyberpunk didn't seem to slow the cards down much at all, not even the RTX 2060. So you might as well enable transformer models in that game. Meanwhile, Alan Wake 2 hit the same card for upwards of a 20% performance penalty. So different games seem to be affected differently by the new transformer models. So with so many variables, my best advice to you is test it for yourself and see if you experience any slowdown on the games that you're playing with DLSS enabled. How much transformer models slow your PC down by will determine whether or not it's worth you using these new models or not. So what sort of visual changes can you expect from this new transformer model? Look, you're on YouTube, the changes are subtle, so I dropped the resolution to something super low, which you wouldn't want to game at, but it does do a nice job of making the differences visible enough for you to see. And I imagine at a pixel level at least, this is how it will look at any resolution you choose to game at. It's just any issues become smaller and less noticeable as your resolution increases. So the new transformer model does a better job of deciphering complex areas of the image, like a ray-traced reflective surface with a texture of its own, which it also needs to display. The puddles on this road here are a great example of this. Zooming in and slowing it down to show it more clearly, the old CNN model makes it look almost like a streaky cartoon, while the new one holds up much better. Another improvement is on the wires overhead. They go from shimmery and pixelated looking to being less shimmery and less pixelated looking. It's almost like the old models, under demanding conditions, felt the need to make things look at least a pixel wide, but the transformer model can produce a sub-pixel wide looking image, and rather consistently, even under a worst case scenario like the one you're seeing here. And it also removes the streaks behind objects where the older CNN model failed to clear it up as it moves along, like how it keeps a sharp edge to the car as new scenery is revealed behind it. But like I said, there are some regressions, namely to these distant trees, which violently dance about. This occurred most frequently at Ultra Performance DLSS mode, where it's trying to upscale the most. It would resolve itself from time to time, but you could tell it was just on the cusp of boiling over into a jazzy dance at any moment again. And even when it does eventually stop doing this, you can see visible horizontal lines across the scene. I imagine such artifacts will become less noticeable as you go up the DLSS settings towards quality and then DLAA. I compared stills with DLSS quality mode active, but at the super low resolution of 720p. And comparing the quality of the ground, the new model is like quadruple the resolution. Gone is the oversharpened blob look of the original. This second still comparison shot shows the improvements to the cables. They're now almost completely intact all the way along, instead of having frequent breaks in them like they did with the CNN model. And this third comparison image, if you look at this diner sign, you'll see that it looks much higher in resolution using the transformer model. All else being equal, these new models seem better. However, on the 2060 Super, the superior transformer model may run about 30% slower, in which case you have to weigh up these image quality benefits against the lost frame rate. Here I've color-coded the results based on the generation of RTX card used, and in green is the more recent 4000 series, and you can see that the transformer model run with less slowdown on this newer generation of RTX card. But annoyingly for a video like this, there are exceptions to every case, and the 4060 Ti still showed slowed down with the new transformer models in Cyberpunk when DLAA was on. Interestingly, when ray tracing was disabled, and the graphics card likely not being challenged quite so hard. So like I said, it's a bit underwhelming with all these mixed results, so let's just quickly cover Cyberpunk. It didn't seem to slow down on any of the cards much until the highest image quality DLAA mode was active, and even then, the 4060 Ti wasn't hit as hard by the new transformer models as the older generations of cards were. I'm sure you're getting bored of pixel peeping, so now I'll just show a long 50% speed, zoomed in version of Cyberpunk at DLSS performance and quality presets using both the old and new model types, so you can decide for yourself whether you think the new transformer model looks as good at performance mode as the old model did at quality. If it does, then this is great, because it means you can get even more performance from using DLSS with no extra degradation to the image quality, on newer generations of card at least. In my opinion, some areas do look as good, like on complicated or thin surfaces or on difficult outlines, but in other areas it didn't look any better than the CNN model. But remember, even the old model is still the second newest version of DLSS that there's been. That's already a very high bar that it needs to clear. And the beauty of all this is, if you're struggling to spot the differences between these four images, where I've tried my best to make the differences obvious by zooming in and by slowing down, then you may as well just use Performance preset and enjoy higher frame rates, which is a boost you might find more noticeable than slightly sharper per pixel clarity. I already thought that DLSS was a no-brainer to use, and this version only makes it even harder for doubters of the technology to continue arguing why they don't think upscaling is worth using. Intel have gone down an interesting route with their XS upscaler. They have shifted the base resolution of the presets, like quality and performance, down as they've improved their upscaling. I think they're trying to match the likes of FSR and DLSS on image quality, whilst investing any improvements they make into their own upscaling in the form of more performance at each preset. So I'm interested to see if Nvidia will opt to do the same, what with their current presets being named things like performance, balanced and quality, based around how their image quality lands around native resolution, give or take. So what do you think? Let me know your brain farts in the comments section and slam that subscribe button.